What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chaos. So welcome to a new episode of Get to the Table. It is the end of WrestleMania. WrestleMania season is over, but the topics are still flowing, and we've got a lot to talk about. And obviously, to talk about that stuff, I need to have uh, an esteemed panel with me today, and of course, I have that. Firstly, let me introduce, of course, me and him actually went to WrestleMania, but he also went to WrestleMania this year as well. So, if everyone, please welcome Anthony. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing all right. It's still wild to me that I've gone to back manias, which I didn't think was a possibility, and it happened. Especially with it being literally in my backyard. It was funny when I was looking at the tickets and seeing how pricey they were. I said to my sister, "I'm like, am I nuts for doing this?" She goes, "How mad would you be if sitting on the couch when it's a couple blocks away?" I'm like, "Pretty mad." She goes, "You know what you need to do," and I'm like, "I'm bought the tickets." So that was pretty much it. But I had a blast.
Definitely. We definitely got to talk about your experience with that, the live experience of it.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, down below is one of the originals of Take It to the Table. You have to be back for this episode, and of course, the doors are open here. Please welcome back Rides. How you doing today, sir?
I am good. I'm really happy and excited to be back. It's been a while, and what a time to come back, right? I mean, WrestleMania and everything in between. So I'm looking forward to talking about it with you guys.
100%. We got a lot to unpack. We're gonna obviously recap WrestleMania, as I said at the beginning of the show. Maybe not every match, but obviously the highs and the lows, some of the important bits. Obviously, a certain footage got aired on a certain TV show, wrestling TV show on Wednesday, and we're obviously going to talk about the fallout and what we think about that situation. Obviously, the Wrestling Republic team has delved into that on the Daily Show, but we had to bring this to the table, discuss it a bit more, and also the fallout of SmackDown. As of this recording, SmackDown just happened 24 hours ago. See the fallout of that. What could be the future? What would we like to see? Any fantasy booking? What they should do? All that stuff. And of course, to wrap it all up, we're going to another round of not WrestleMania, 20 questions, wrestling 20 questions, as well. So of course, make sure you sit back, make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And without further ado, let us take it to the table. There we go.
Oh, we're in the end game now.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was definitely had that feeling on night 2. But yeah, like I said, let's get the important stuff out of the way. WrestleMania has obviously been on 2 nights. Both of them, in my opinion, back to back, very good. If the night 1 was Infinity War, and night 2 was definitely Avengers Endgame, and yeah, it had that feeling. I can't put it any different, really. Definitely had night 1 had its good moments. Some of it a bit of a dud moments. But night 2 is where all the action happened, and I think that they delivered above and beyond. Both on both nights, and obviously I haven't felt this exciting about the aftermath or what's going to happen next after WrestleMania. Since I've been a wrestling fan, to be honest. It really feels like it's not just a buzzword. Like it truly feels like it's a new era, a new time in this day and age. And it's a great time to be a wrestling fan as well, not just for as a if you like WAW. There's so many options out there, good options. And yeah, but definitely WrestleMania just WWE as a company just feels like it's renewed, and you're just excited to see what they do in the future. So yeah, WrestleMania was great. Like I said, Anthony was there for both nights. He currently resides in Philly, so like you said at the beginning, he'll be absolutely kicking himself, knowing that he's a couple blocks away from the stadium, and he just didn't go over get a ticket, no matter how much it costs. Put it on credit card, remortgage the house if you have to. I would the same, and then suffer the consequences later. But yeah, just wanted to get your thoughts on just the overall atmosphere on both nights. What was it like, especially on night one? Going in, what was the atmosphere like? What was the weather? More importantly, now, don't be biased because I know you're a Philly guy. Just you might think it's not cold and it could be like -10. But yeah, what's your thoughts?
No. Honestly, that was the thing. Watching it back afterwards, because everyone told me in the general chat that we're all in going, how cold is it? Like, they're keep hyping this. At no point did I see my breath in the air. Like, it was not that cold. Like, legitimately, I had an alpaca like hoodie underneath of a jacket. That's all I had, and a ski cap. That's all I pretty much had as far as warmth goes. I was fine. Was it cooler than night two? Yes, it was cool, but it was not. It was not freezing. Like, it was still in the 50s. It was not that. It was not freezing. As the announcers are like, it's Antarctica here. I'm like, nobody was rolling by on ice skates. Like, it was not that cold. The crowd was definitely more livelier night two for certain. And obviously they had a reason to. For me, night one, the highlights, the Sammy Gunther match. You know, that whole underdog fighting underneath, fighting Gunther. I've said before, the only thing I wish they would have done differently is at some point, I wish Gunther would have said to Sammy's wife, if he dies, he dies. Because they were going the whole Rocky IV thing anyway. I kind of wish that he would have said something like that to her. But the crowd popped huge for when Sammy won. I think that was relayed on the TV as well. You know, I was talking to Clark yesterday, and he goes, that one popped him too. Carter made fun of him for popping for it. You know, and the main event, you know, that was the thing. I didn't know how long they would go with that. And I think, Chaos, I think you and I were on a daily where we talked about it and was like, I don't think this is a good idea to risk 3 of your people for the main event the next night. And the fact that they went long with it, what was it, like 45 minutes or something like that on this match?
45 minutes, yep.
Yeah, that was like wild to me because I didn't think they would go that long. I really, not necessarily saying they were going to mail it in. It's still a main event. But I didn't think they would go as out there as they did. I know it was divided. Some people didn't like it. Some people liked it. I was okay with it. I thought it delivered what it needed to. And I knew going in, there was no way Roman and Rock were going to lose that match. Like, that one, you knew Rollins and Cody were going to lose. The question mark was night 2. And as much as I wanted to see Cody win, and as confident as I was until we got Cena out there, I'm going, oh, they're going to pull the trigger on this. Like, they're going to pull the trigger. And I actually recorded from, I think, Cena on my phone, and I could, at the moment, I don't even realize what I'm saying until I play it back, and I am completely marking out. Now, as many years as I've been watching, I'm pretty even keel when I watch. Like, I don't really. It takes a lot for me to like mark out, and I could probably count on one hand the number of times I've marked out since I know how the business works. That I completely marked out. I hear myself on that recording going, "Oh, here it comes, and then freaking out when Taker came out, which originally I thought it was going to be Austin. Obviously, it's come out that it was supposed to be Austin, but Taker made sense to me. I know some people said it didn't make sense. Taker has history with the Samoan family, has history with Rock. He's one of the only 2 people that have beaten him at Mania. Taker is always going to be the conscience of WWE. That's his yard, and he pretty much is the watchful eye of Mania. You know, if you want to call him the guardian of Mania, you know, it made sense. And obviously he has history with Rock. So I was cool with it. The crowd popped huge for it. And you're right. It completely has a new feel. Like I haven't felt this way about being a fan since probably the Attitude Era when there was the big 3. Like it's so many options now, and it does feel fresh. Like the Raw after Mania felt the way the Raw after Mania is supposed to feel. You know, we didn't get that last year because the old senile chef kept screwing with the recipe and gave us, you know, not what the heir apparent chef is doing now. Like this was supposed to be what we got last year. The fact that they were able to work this and have Cody win it at 40, and as disappointed as I was that he didn't win at 39, it's better that he won it at 40. Like in hindsight, whether that was the master plan, whether they pivoted, whatever, the end result got Cody more over. 100%. And if the fans didn't react the way they did when Rock was going to shoehorn himself into the Roman match, we don't get the best version of The Rock that we got. This heel badass version of The Rock is the greatest version we've ever seen. We wouldn't have gotten that. If the fans didn't cry for Cody, we would have just gotten babyface Rock against Roman. Rock gets credit for this, putting the ego aside and going, no, we need to pivot. And it was I can't wait for the documentary. I know that it was supposed to be released, and apparently the story that is coming out that we have so much footage, we're not ready to release this thing, even though we said it was coming out Wednesday. So I can't wait to see this thing, because to hear the inner workings, like we could all theorize and what they did, but to hear the actual story, I am just as compelled to hear the inner workings as I am to see the stuff that's on TV.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I completely forgot about they were going to, was it Behind the Curtain or WrestleMania documentary? Yes. And if they've got more footage than they thought they would, then by all means take your time. I want to see that beginning to end. Yeah, I want to see how that really unfolded. It's like I say, it's definitely a refreshing feel. I'm excited. It's to the point where I don't even want to guess what they're gonna do next. I just want to enjoy the ride. Just same as The Rock said, I just enjoy the ride that they're taking us on. Because obviously we've been burned so many times before, and and under the old regime, most likely, as much as we probably cry out for Cody, 9 times out of 10 they probably wouldn't even pivoted. You know how stubborn Vince is. Like, it's only until like things really bad and he doesn't want to stink out the joint with Mania, he might relent. There's only a couple of times where we won that kind of argument, but like that, it's crazy how to think if we didn't cry out, and like I said, we wouldn't have gotten the best Rock ever. It's crazy. It
really is.
Yeah, 100%. But what about you, Rides? I know. I believe you was watching it live with us during the watch along. Obviously not the same place, but at the same time. But yeah, how was your feel going to WrestleMania, and how much did it impress you or not impress you? What's your thought? What was your first impression? What's your impressions of the whole show?
I mean, first impressions of the show, I think it ticked all boxes. It was very, very entertaining to watch and just sit back and enjoy. The anticipation for the event both nights was just on a real high. I think the build for everything, not just the main event, just everything had a really nice build. Whether you're talking about Roman and Cody or even just LA and AJ, everything had its own personal feel. You know how sometimes you get a big PLE, but the focus is the main event, and all the other matches are kind of just they're there. I'm sure you've all watched PLEs in the past or pay-per-views where it's a cool match, but I could have watched that on Raw or I could have watched that on SmackDown. Yeah. This WrestleMania felt like WrestleMania. This PLE felt like a PLE, and that's all across the card for both nights. And I might have to go on record and say that that might be the best WrestleMania I've seen. And I know that's a big statement and there's a lot of other contenders, but when I really think about it, like if you look at the last 10, 20 minutes of night 2, I can't remember a time where wrestling has given me that up and down of emotions, like getting you excited, getting you off the edge of your seat, even emotional a little bit. Like it was just full blast. And that will live with me. That was a memory, man. I felt like I was there.
That was the most perfect moment. That main event on night 2 was that may be the greatest WrestleMania main event of all time.
Yes,
just because
the
ride it took you on, and the reason why people are calling it Endgame is, Endgame was a buildup of 20 plus films leading to that last 8-10 minutes to watch everything come together. That's kind of what we got there. Like a 2-year build to get to that point, to get that moment. And WrestleMania is the one show you can go crazy and go, let's throw out Cena, let's throw out Taker. Like it's the one show that it's completely allowed. Like that in the Rumble are
no one complained.
You could do that. If you complained, then you're just complaining to complain. Like like I can't imagine anybody that watched that. If you didn't get goosebumps from that match, you don't have a pulse. Like that match was, whether you supported Cody or not, that's storytelling at its best. That's the core of this industry. That's what fuels the industry. People go, "Oh, why do you watch?" The matches are great, but it's the stories. It's it gets you invested, and that's why it works. That's why the Bloodline worked, because you didn't know what was going to happen. The Bloodline, it's consistent of expect the unexpected, and that's what's been. How many times was the Bloodline pronounced dead as a story, going, "Oh, it's got to be over," and then they throw something in there. Hey, look, Sammy's an honorary use now. Oh, we love the Bloodline. Oh, Sammy's out of the Bloodline. Okay, well, they always find a way, and it very much is true. Like Rock said, enjoy the ride and let the chef behind the scenes cook, because the meal he's going to give you, as he's shown so far, you're going to be satisfied.
100%.
Yeah.
And just to add to that, I think the bar has been set. Well, I know the bar has been set now, and now it's like a thing where you talk to your friends who perhaps don't watch wrestling, or someone who's never watched wrestling before. This is now the new thing that you can say, okay, put this on, play that night, play WrestleMania 40, play that event. Like that can be the introduction to someone who's never watched wrestling before, and I guarantee it will get them sucked in. Like literally, like it's you can't really critique. Look, Rob, we've done a lot of critique on this show in the past, and like we've called out the negatives. I really don't think there's a negative with WrestleMania 40. I know that there's some matches that maybe didn't live up to the hype.
Yeah, which I was going to get into.
But it's not that they were bad. They just maybe scored a 7 instead of a 10 or whatever. But overall, it was a stacked night, man. And there was no bathroom break match or anything like that. It was just you were glued. And I just can't stop saying.
Except for one match, maybe. Fortunately, for me, I didn't really pay much mind to it. Was the Pride versus the Final Testament.
But
that was a good match. That was a good match.
By the way, I do have to say, obviously I didn't get it live in the stadium, but when I watched it back, I have to say, Snoop on commentary added something. He was way more entertaining than I expected. Like if you like when they went Snoop's on commentary, I'm like, all right. And then when he was on commentary, I'm like, they need to bring him back. Like because it was just enjoyable. Like it was just so off the wall. It worked.
Yeah. He's so good at commentary. Like I've seen so many of his. Anytime he's on boxing on the Thriller fight, he's definitely the highlight. Oh, you don't have to watch the match. You just listen to him
sitting during the match and everything, man. Like, just...
definitely. Of course, you got to see Bubba Ray Dudley make a return, which was pretty cool to see. And everyone get the tables. That was pretty cool. But I don't know. It just felt a bit sloppy at parts. Like obviously, I know it happens every so often. But obviously, the table broke before they got a chance to use it. So Bobby Lashley just looked lost.
But by the way,
good save though. They made a good save with that.
So somebody in the crowd behind me, when the table broke on its own, went, "Someone boo the table," because he's not cooperating. Like somebody yelled it behind me, and I was like, "That's great."
That doesn't work for me, brother.
Yeah.
And then the annoying bit where like when it came to the table spot with B-Fab and Scarlett, it just felt so choreographed because they were just moving to the side and it kept
it did. I can agree with that. It did.
It was a bit annoying. And then obviously on night 1, obviously I think the weakest match, not that it was bad, but like you say, it just didn't live up to our expectations, was obviously the Usos match. I felt that could have been way more exciting. Or I don't know, maybe they just didn't get enough. They didn't get to be as creative as they wanted. Obviously, they made it up in night 2 in the event. I mean, that was just that 2 minutes.
Spearing him off the stage was wild.
Yeah.
Watching that.
Beautiful shot with the audience behind. Yeah. I mean, if I was to take a guess with the Usos match, we've seen it before where like there's a plan and then something before goes over and time is cut short. That was my assumption. I just assumed maybe they had a plan and it was cut short and they had to improvise. I don't know. But yeah, it didn't live up to the hype, unfortunately. It wasn't bad. It just the build. You know when the build is better than the outcome? That's what happened here.
Yeah. the promo video was phenomenal.
Yeah.
For the match. Like that I love that promo video.
That was really good.
Yeah.
One match that definitely surprised me out of what surprised it was much better than I thought it would be was Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch. I knew they were gonna have a good match, but it was the fact it was an open as well. But yeah, I think it was perfectly placed. They definitely set the tone of the match as well, and I'm happy that Rhea did retain as well because I feel like she's had a busy year, and I feel like she has some time. She needs to have some time off. She didn't really need the title either. So but like besides those little niggling parts that we mentioned, I definitely more enjoyable than last year. That obviously we were there in person and whatnot, but just the atmosphere and everything that just broke that carried into this event was absolutely stellar. And
I do want to give Becky credit though. I want to give Becky credit because she went into that match sick, and she worked. She worked that match like and you couldn't tell when you were watching it. Like I don't know how she did it because if she was that violently ill, I don't know how you perform, out there for however long that match went. Like, the last thing you want to do is get in a ring in cooler weather on top of it.
Hurling.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how they do it. I mean, I know they've done it. Like, Hunter worked. I don't know if it was the flu. Like, he worked his match with Undertaker at 17. He was violently ill. Like, and that is one of the most insane matches. Like, they went all over the place, but he was violently ill.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you do it. Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
It's just that passion.
It is. Yeah, it's that passion. You just got to focus on it.
Yeah, we mentioned Rhea and Becky. I agree, 100%. Very solid match. I was happy with Rhea winning, but I was also a little surprised. I was a little because I mean she's held that for it was a year to the day, right? Didn't she win it last?
Yeah, a little more than a year. Yeah. She won it at Mania.
So I wouldn't have been surprised if they'd given it to Becky. I was a bit more surprised that they put Rhea over like that. Let me get your guys' opinion on this though. Like, obviously, crazy big match, Becky Rhea. We know that, and it's kind of been pushed as almost like a dream match for a while. There's been little teasers and stuff. But I heard someone else say this, and I kind of agree. Even though it's such a big match, if we're talking about tradition, shouldn't the bigger women's match have been Bayley and Io? In terms of winning a Rumble, going to WrestleMania, the storybook ending, kind of got pushed down the side compared to Becky and Rhea. What would you guys say?
I agree with that, but I think from the perspective of, I think Rhea and Becky are bigger names.
Star power, right?
Yeah, I think it's star power. Now, the reason it was an opener, I think Becky was a huge part of that because I think Becky had gone on record of going she had never done a WrestleMania opener. She'd main evented. Right. She wanted to do an opening match. I don't know if her health had something to do with it. Going, let's do it, get it over with, and then you can rest. I don't know, but like star power wise, it's they were the bigger stars. I would to me, I think that's why. If anything, I think it's bigger star power.
Yeah, definitely when it comes to that. Definitely. I mean, because you kind of forgot that. In a way, you kind of forgot that Bayley won the Rumble. It was more about the falling out with Damage Control that took over the narrative than her winning the Rumble. Whereas with Cody, obviously he reminded you constantly. He won the Rumble. He reminded you constantly. Yeah, it was all front and center. So so I think star power it was definitely the overriding on that. I mean, overall, it's going to take a huge it's going to take a lot to beat this year's, because I mean I'll just look forward to see what they're going to do next. But obviously with Triple H, she has a good history with obviously NXT takeovers. They seem to usually get better and better every time. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens on that. So out of 10, I would assume you would score that a 10 out of 10 for both nights from both of y'all, or
as a whole. Like, I look at it the same way I look at Infinity War Endgame. I consider that one whole film. Like, granted, it's broken into parts. I feel Mania was the same way. I think that is the greatest Mania of all time, and I could be biased because I was there, but realistically, I think that was it. Like, I don't think there's been a better one.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you right?
Yeah, I mean, I echo the same sentiment. I mean, it can't be anything less than a 10. I know prior to WrestleMania 40s, we've had the classics. I know everyone loves to go back to, I think it's WrestleMania 17 with Austin and The Rock.
Yep.
And then you had, I think it was the following year, Rock and Hogan, and everyone talks about that as well. And even 20 with that main event that we can't talk about anymore. But like,
with He Who Shall Not Be Named.
Exactly, yeah. People talk about those being great, and they were great. And at the time, they probably did feel great. But I can remember how I felt then. And in comparison, like I said, I've never felt like how I felt watching WrestleMania 40.
And
hands down.
And that's the thing. And one thing I would say is that obviously everyone goes back to 17, 18, and 20, but those are just one matches. Whereas
exactly
in the 40, there's multiple matches.
Everything, yes. Yeah, it's true. It's the matches. In some cases, even just the build. I mean, the Rock and Austin, I don't think in hindsight was actually a fantastic match.
No, I agree.
It was the build, the My Way video, and the fact that it's
the My Way video.
Do you know what I mean? But the actual match, and then could you tell me any memorable matches from that event other than that match?
The only other one was the TLC, because the first TLC,
the TLC
show, and Taker and Hunter. Like, I think those were like the pillars, but like realistically, the Austin Rock match, I've always hated the finish to that because it made no sense. Like, to me, it ruined that match for me. So when everyone always focuses on that, when I'm going, I think that's the weaker of the trilogy of matches they've had at Mania, to be perfectly honest, because the finish made no sense.
Yeah.
In hindsight, you look at the Austin heel turn, it was not a good thing. Like, realistically, it did not help the company.
No.
So that's why with that whole thing. And also, I believe that was also because WCW got bought out. So that was also the Shane Vince match too, was on that card.
Yes.
So like, that's why 17 so fondly remembered, but I think 40 as a whole delivered on a whole nother level. Chaos, I did think of you with the Austin Cena stare off. I went, look, 3, like, because I know you saw the other 2.
Yeah. I mean, you mean Cena Rock? You mean?
Yes, Cena Rock. Yes.
Yeah. It was. I can't fault it, man. And I'm happy that I proved Ben wrong and made him do 40 press-ups whilst he was drunk, 4 a.m. in the morning.
Chaos, you and I were on that show, and you and I insisted that Cody was going to win this thing. We also insisted the other thing was that it was going to be Rollins and Punk, which I'm very happy that they revealed it. Yeah, it was. Before Punk got injured, that's where this was going. Because if you remember, it was the same show. I believe David and Ben were insisting that Balor was going to win the Rumble. And you and I just laughed it off and went, no. But I remember that. I was like, it's either Cody or Punk, and either way, they're both in the title matches. But I remember you and I doing that show with him, and I think we was like, clip this, because he insisted Roman was going to win, and we're like, no.
Insolent fool. But also speaking about Punk, well, one half. I want to get Ryder's thoughts on, obviously, what was your thoughts on when the cash-in happened? I remember we was talking on the group chat, and you just lost your flipping mind when that happened. Okay. What was your thoughts going through that?
So I'm hyped up for Seth and Drew. I know it's going to be a banger. I understand why, like, the possibility of Drew winning makes sense, and it's a good thing, and I maybe partially saw it coming, but the fan in me was still rooting for Seth. I just got to a point where, you know what? I want Seth to win. I'd love for Seth to humble Drew and move forward. So when Drew won, I wasn't upset, but I was like, Okay, fine. And then they had the little where Drew was celebrating and mocking Punk. I'm telling you, for whatever reason, that whole time watching that, I did not think of Damian Priest that way. For whatever reason, it was out of my head. And the fact that it was out of my head made it so much more special. Because when that Judgment Day theme hit, and I know it had to be their theme, not Damian Priest theme, it had to be the Judgment Day theme. When that hit, I was popping for it because I was like, there's no way he's going to come out to cash in at WrestleMania and lose. We joked about it. The way Drew's been on a roll with social media and being such a great heel, he needed that humbling. And I said to you, can you imagine with all of this heat and all of this passion and anger that he has, for him to win and then get it taken away from him, he's going to go and jump out of a window or start becoming an alcoholic or something, because this is flipping crazy. And then it happens. And it was done in such a great way. Kudos to Punk for playing his part. I loved it. That was super entertaining. And the fact that it was early on in the show, was it the first match?
It opened night 2, yes.
What a way to start the show. What a way to set the precedent.
It's funny because watching that match, and also just as a whole, Seth really was the MVP because he's on a bad knee, worked two matches and barely was able to get in the ring for the finish. Like, he really is the MVP that he got through that. Like, all credit to him, like, seriously. But I love that when, like, Punk is, by the way, side note, Soul sent me a message earlier in the day and said to me, he goes, listen, if Drew wins, can you send me a picture of him with the title? I'm like, sure. All right, so he wins, and I take a picture of him with the title. And I sent him the message on my phone. Close the chat. Punk beats up Drew. I love the look on Punk's face because you literally saw, like, the smirk. Like, whether he knew or not, he played it off as going, oh, he connected the dots and went, this is going to be good. And then kicked him some more until Damian got down. But then Damian wins. I go and I go back in the chat or whatever. And all that's there is Soul's response. And it's just a recording of him cursing. Like, because I sent it and didn't, like, again, I'm watching the show, so I'm not, like, keeping up top. So, like, I'm thinking to myself, after Damian won, I went, oh, he's going to hate Punk more now. I'm loving. So I go and check. And it's not even written. It's just a audio recording of just him cursing. And I'm sitting in my seat laughing because I'm going, that's about the response I expected. And then just watch but yeah, it was just
he was. I remember because we was doing the live watch along. And Drew won. He literally immediately called me and he was just like, "Fuck it, yes, Scottish won. Drew's time. It's Drew's time now." Obviously, the Punk thing happened within 2 minutes. Man called me again. Punk's a fucking cunt. Fuck Punk. Fuck this, fuck that. Ben was like, turn him off, we're live.
Like, literally, it was so funny because I'm there and I'm just going, after I set the picture, after everything settled down, I'm going, oh, shit. There's going to be an angry response. And I'm like, I hope he saw the picture before the cash in, because if he thinks I'm sending that to him, rubbing it in, that it didn't end well. Like he'd be pissed, even though, like, I literally took the picture when he had the title and I sent it, like, immediately, because I told him, I said, I'll send it to you. I think originally he wanted a recording, and I'm like, you're getting a picture. Like, I'm not like, this wasn't. I'm like, you got a picture. Like, watch it on the network.
Wi-Fi's bad. It will take long to upload anyway.
listen. I'm on my 5G service. You're getting the 5G, for this. But, like, I sent him the picture. He's got the belt, all teary eyed. I'm like, cool. I sent him this picture. Didn't know it was going to end badly, but that's what ended up happening. By the way, I love that Drew tweeted during the match.
Yeah, that was great.
And then the follow-up was Bad Bunny apparently replied back to him and said, "How'd the shift go?" Which I got to give him credit, but, like, talk about character. Like, I didn't think Drew had this type of character in him. This is his best version. The sarcastic, throwing digs. This is a great Drew. Like, this just the way The Rock found his best version. I think Drew's found his best version.
Yep.
Like, this character is tremendous, and we all want to see him and Punk. And like, this is what happens when you turn real life quasi animosity into stories to make money. Pay attention, AEW. This is what you could have had. But no, you couldn't do this. You had to be children and go, no, he's bad. He wants to put people in seats and sell tickets. We don't like that. We don't do that here. How well's that worked out for you guys?
Listen, with Drew, everything you're saying about his character work right now is 100% agree. And what's really cool about it is you can tell he's enjoying himself. And this is coming from a person who's in the past not enjoyed himself so much. He's had bad times in the WWE.
Yeah.
He's fully enjoying himself. I'm sure he saw the entertaining side of winning and then losing the title. I'm sure he was a team player with that.
Oh yeah.
And he's killing it with social media. He's using other avenues. It's not just about holding a microphone. It's like we're in an age now where there's so many other things that we can do to reach the audience, and he's just absolutely killing it. I've always thought he was entertaining. Even back in his early days, 3MB, I always thought he was like a dark horse of humor or whatever, and now it's coming out. And what I will say about the cash-in is that was special for me because it made things more believable. And I'll explain. Prior to that night, Damian had the Money in the Bank briefcase for however long. And it was cool, solid, but for whatever reason, I just couldn't see him as a world champion. It was almost similar to when Theory had the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Same, by the way.
Yeah, I wanted to because I like him. I like the Judgment Day, but I just thought it would just be, it's either going to be forced or you're either going to bring the level of the World Heavyweight Championship down in comparison to the WWE title.
As a transitional champ. Like that was
that's how I felt. But then for whatever reason, that the Money in the Bank cash-in changed that for me. Like now I believe Damian. I'm behind him. Yeah. He still needs to prove himself and stuff. Obviously, we'll see that over time, but I think he's solid. I think he's a good representative. If you've seen him already doing interviews and press conferences, he talks and walks like a champion. Yeah. And believe it.
By the way, speaking of the Drew moments, I think you see the pure joy in his face when he did back and forth on Raw with Punk.
Yeah.
When Drew threw in, for a guy that doesn't take any drugs, you spend an awful amount of time in rehab. And Punk throwing in the smirk on Drew's face when Punk went, "Who named you the chosen one? Go ahead, tell me who."
Say his name.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you see the smirk, like, like that's a legitimate, genuine smirk because he's cracking up and has to maintain character.
No, he was stressed. If he wasn't anime, you would see this big droplet like I can't say that, bro.
But like it was just so well done.
Yeah,
it worked.
Great segment.
You know what I mean?
110%. So obviously WrestleMania wrapped up. After Mania happened, that segment with obviously Cody won. Spoilers if you haven't seen it.
Spoiler alert.
That segment with I know, that's Rose and The Rock. First of all, I didn't expect Rock to be there. That was a nice surprise. The fact he was still there. I thought he took his time to win, but he showed up with the People's Championship. Another thing as well, I don't think it's that bad. He comes out with it like, sure, it's a nonsensical championship, but it's a special championship to him. It was given to him by the widow of Muhammad Ali. So of course, I don't think that he's like the true champion or anything, but it has some special meaning to it. So why not bring it out? But anyway, they had that segment. I thought it was a bit weird. I still don't understand that, especially the ending. When he obviously says no fireworks, no this stuff, and then he hands something to him, and said like, you don't have to open your hand up to know what this is.
Yeah.
Don't make my again. And then I don't know what was it? I heard it was like a Rolex.
I believe it was unofficially when Cody was on Ariel, he mentioned the fact that he had Rolexes made for him and Seth.
Yeah.
And Ariel said to him, he goes, "Oh, so there are only two." And Cody said, "There are others." Now, he's not going to publicly say, but it sounds like he bought one for Roman. He bought one for Rock. Probably Heyman probably got one. Don't know if there are any others, but like, I believe it was the Rolex. We've seen, people focus on everything. During Heyman's induction speech, somebody zoomed in when Roman's hugging Heyman, and you could see the 40 on the watch. So Roman was wearing the watch. So that's the presumption that he gave him the watch back. I'm sure they're going to make it into a story of saying the watch was broken or something like that, even though The Rock probably he probably did hand him the Rolex, and then he handed it back to him in the back. Like, The Rock didn't really destroy the watch, but that'll be the story with it. As far as Rock holding the title, I think that works with him with the People's Championship because, again, Rock is delusional at this point. So delusionally, he still believes he's the People's Champion. Like, you know what I mean? It works for a character because the character's like, I'm still the champ. And that plays into the whole thing. I saw one thing online which I thought was great. Somebody went, "The Rock, it really is the People's Champ. He's just like all of us, holding a title he didn't actually win." So I was cool with it. The belt exchange thing was completely awkward, and I was part of the 20,000 people chanting, "This is awkward." I don't know where they were going with that. In a weird way, I think it was almost like The Rock still as a heel is quote unquote trying to give Cody his flowers reluctantly, and the audience isn't buying him being a good guy now of giving the flowers. They don't trust him, and I think that's what it pretty much was. Like his tail was between his legs, and it's laying the groundwork. It's laying the groundwork for the eventual Rock Cody match apparently now. And I think, this run with Rock, I don't think this is it. Like, I think The Rock's looking at this going, okay, I've made my money in Hollywood. I'm still going to make money in Hollywood. I've established myself to such a degree, and the clock is ticking on my age. If I want to do one last physical run in this business, this is probably it. And I want to check boxes of things that I've never done before. Like, I was talking to one of our writers, Archie, and he goes, "I wonder if we're going to get a War Games with the new versus old bloodline, essentially." And I went, it's not completely off the table, I don't think, because The Rock's never done a War Games match, and I would think that would be something that would intrigue him because he was such a big Dusty fan. To work the match that Dusty created, do like one time. I think that's a possibility. I think this is pretty much Cody's definitely. I think Cody's definitely happening, and I think Roman's probably going to be the last match. I think whether or not it's this year at for 41, or if they drag it a whole nother year, I don't know. But I think this is I think we're witnessing the final run. Physical run in the ring.
I feel like this is. Go on. Sorry.
No. I was going to say, I'm like, even when his in-ring career is done, even though he's on the TKO board, I think he's going to be involved in this business one way or another because he loves the business. And like somebody said, well, the Hollywood studios are not going to like him wrestling. Yeah, I'm sure they don't, but he's a big enough name both in and out of wrestling. Everyone around the world knows who The Rock is. Like, legitimately, he is the biggest star that's ever come out of wrestling. And quite frankly, Tom Cruise still does all his own stunts with Mission Impossible. So, like, they don't like things, but at the end of the day, if you deliver box office numbers, they'll look the other way. And I feel like that's the case with The Rock.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I do feel like this ain't it for The Rock. He will be back. And one thing about Rock when it comes to these, especially in the latter years, it's all about the long term. So I feel like this will probably be another like 2-year run like he did with Cena.
Yeah.
Where it would surprise me if next year's Mania still haven't announced where it's gonna be. It would surprise me if next year's Mania is in Miami, him versus Roman in Miami, and then he will like obviously lay down for Roman. Pause. But I feel like I think that's why they haven't announced it, because traditionally they usually announce the following year's Mania either on
Mania.
the night of Mania or just before. So I feel like it surprised me if it's going to be in Florida, Miami, which I wouldn't say no to, because I've been to the one in Miami and it's great. So
selfishly, I could see them. I mean, the two locations that have been rumored is obviously Minneapolis, has been mentioned, and Vegas was floated as a possibility.
Yes.
I think, Vegas is a very intriguing spot for them to do a big money match like that, whether it's Roman and Rock or even Rock and Cody, if it does go to that point. I think Vegas is the most intriguing one if they do it. I think Minneapolis, in a lot of ways, I think that was the favorite because I think a lot of people prior to the Dark Cloud, as you want to call it, I think it was supposed to be Brock's farewell match. Like I think that's why Minneapolis was floated in the first place. But it's going to be interesting. The fact that they haven't announced it, I do find that very interesting because I get it. It's a new ownership group, but like it is intriguing that they wouldn't have done that. Like that you're not announcing that a year out. Like really, Mania is the only one. And the one thing that was odd, even with 40, if you remember Chaos, we knew 40 was Philly even before 39. Like it was like it's the only time that they've ever really announced that far in advance. They had merch online for 40, and 39 didn't even happen yet. So like they've never done that. Like that's the only time they've ever done that. So like this year when we don't have any idea, is very interesting to me that we don't know.
Yeah, 100%. What about you? Rides? What's are you up for another run of The Rock, or what do you think the end game should be? You think it should be at Mania, should be at Miami? What's your thoughts on it?
I mean, I'm always up for The Rock. Growing up, Rock was one of my favorites, and anytime he can come back to the business is always great for us, whether he's a babyface or a heel. He's doing phenomenal work right now, and he's got a lot of competition to compare himself to because what he did in the past was amazing as well. So it's almost like comparing his work now to what he's done in the past. Like you guys have kind of touched on, what he's doing now might be his best run, or might be the best stuff he's doing in terms of entertainment, which is a big feat to say considering what he's done in the past. It'll be a sad day when The Rock hangs it up for good, I think. But like he says, just enjoy the ride until then. With him being with TKO now, regardless of whether he steps away on camera, he's still going to be behind the scenes. He's still going to be integrated somehow, and that's good for us because even if we're seeing less of him, his mind is, he's on the same level of what Triple H is doing right now. Do you know what I mean? They're on the same wavelength, and it's a new era. It's going to be great for us. When you talk about that. Sorry, what?
His fingerprints will be on the business, regardless.
Exactly, that's it. And when you talk about the segment Raw After Mania, hella awkward. And I've heard things as well, excuse me, about the what was in his hands or whatever. I heard the Rolex thing. I heard kind of something else as well. Cody touched on in the press conference after Mania that he was also gifted a Rolex by Pritchard and Hunter, I think, and
Nick Khan. Nick Khan and those two.
Yeah, and it was basically a recreate of Rolex that his father had and had to pawn because of financial issues or whatever.
It's actual Rolex.
It was the actual Rolex. They tracked it down.
Yeah, they found it.
It's the original Rolex.
You're kidding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Then forget what I was gonna say, because I was gonna say that I thought the gift was a recreate, and I thought Rock would say he found the original and put it in his hand. But if you're saying he's already got the original, then gosh, I don't know what it could be, because I know you said it could be the other Rolex that Cody gifted to
the gift one,
But then what's the story logic behind that? Why am I giving the Rolex you gave me a few days ago?
And why did Rock say, "Don't break my heart"? Like, what the fuck does that mean?
I mean, I'm gonna assume the break my heart thing is linked to the dismay that's happened between the two of them. Obviously, when at first they were cool. Hey, here's my match at WrestleMania. You can take it, and then actually I want it back, and I'm guessing that's what's happened. And the insulted family as well. but I don't know. I don't even know if they know. They might have just put it out there and then they're gonna decide down the line. I've heard all sorts. I've heard it's the MJF ring, for example. It could be anything.
That's the fantasy. That's the fantasy book people where they're like, it's got to be the diamond ring. But like, I don't think they know exactly where they're going to go with that. But I agree with you. The break my heart thing, I think, was pretty much, you knew me main eventing with Roman was quote unquote my dream, and you shattered it. And I am mad about it. Like, I think that's where it's going to blend between real and storyline. And I think that documentary is going to, it's going to expose a lot of that. So I find it wild that they're releasing that documentary now. Like, I thought, like, if you're going to release that, you kind of do it when everything's done. Like, I'm a little surprised that they're even going to reveal that, even though we all know it's a story. But we're getting behind the smoke and mirrors. We're seeing the Wizard of Oz, essentially. Like, you're giving us everything. You're like, yeah, I decided, I don't want to anger the fans. Let's do it. Well, that's going to quasi hurt your whole argument of going, you took my match. Like, it hurts it a little bit, but I'm willing to suspend belief. I mean, we all know it's a story, so whatever, it's fine.
Yeah. It'll still be very interesting to watch. I do agree with you in the sense that it's almost a little bit too soon. Like, they were advertising that doc before Mania.
Yeah, at Mania.
And then they updated the trailer for it to add that Cody had won the title. So like, it's quite wild. I mean, I guess we just have to sit back and see what happens with the Rock Cody thing. I mean, I believe it's a new era now. I'm fully focused, but as a wrestling fan, we all have trust issues. We might have another lockbox situation on our hand where we never find out what it is. Like, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But
100%. And just before we wrap up on this section, obviously SmackDown just happened 20 minutes ago, and things have been changing within the bloodline. So obviously, so the bloodline came to in the backstage segment. They try to go to their my mind's going. What do you call them rooms? No, not makeup room. Locker room. That's it. They tried to go to the locker room. I don't know what happened there. I malfunctioned. They went to the locker room, but instead of having the bloodline's name on it, it had Rhodes and Nightmares logo on.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens came up and he was like, sorry, Cody Rhodes is over here. I think there's a broom closet across the hall. Maybe you should go over there. And then they were just like, well, they were admitting defeat ultimately. Paul Heyman and the Bloodline were saying, we'll take accountability, and that is a big thing to do. Whilst he was obviously in his speech, this was in the ring. The Solo looked at Paul Heyman and basically said, losing has consequence, right? So consequences have to be made. And obviously he pushed away Paul Heyman, looked at Jimmy, and just obviously Jimmy was like, huh, me? I know you ain't talking about me, bro. And then obviously they embraced. Solo said, I love you. Jimmy said, I love back. And I was totally expecting him to get spiked. But he was angling it.
Absolutely. My first thought, and I was actually I was watching this, and my first thought was going, oh my God, this has always been compared to like The Godfather. They're doing Michael Corleone and Fredo.
Yes.
That's exactly what it was. I'm like, he's going to get hit. And then that's exactly what they did. He was swimming with the fishes.
Yeah.
At that point. I just love Paul. Paul Heyman has been such an MVP for this thing. The reactions, just him in the corner going, no, Solo, no. And then Solo destroying the phone, his lifeline, the Roman. Just Paul now. Paul's like the hostage. He's like the hostage wise man now, where it's like he's fearing for his life. The Rock's off in Hollywood. Roman is out licking his wounds, and he is stuck with the savages like that are left. And
pretty much
the gray hair is going to return.
Oh yeah, like I absolutely think you need to he needs to age. I think they need to go the age route again.
Yeah.
And like Paul looking disheveled, like they need to really Paul will do this. Like, he'll look disheveled.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's got to do the 5 o'clock shadow. He's got to grow the hair. Like, he needs to do it.
Yep.
He's
Tie
really
on twist
got-
up all over there.
Yeah.
What was it? What happened in the past? Where was it? His thing with Punk or something happened, and the next night he had an interview with Renee, like one of them backs where they sit down and it's quiet, and he just looked like he had been crying all night, man. Like
yeah, I remember that.
That was when Roman dumped him. He had that interview too.
Yeah. And he had the 5 o'clock shadow, like you said, everything, man. So carry on. So what? So they hug and then hits the spike.
So they hug.
I'm guessing.
And then he was about to do a spike, but obviously he didn't. He walked away, turned his back, and then over you just see this hooded individual come out in this clubber J, and it happens to be Tama Tonga, former at New Japan wrestler. I think he's one of the longest tenured wrestlers in New Japan, I believe.
Didn't he spend years just in the WWE?
An original Bullet Club member. Like, literally,
I was gonna say,
the original Bullet Club, like, all but one is in WWE.
Wow,
that is crazy.
Fale is the one I don't think is. I think
was he not very anti WWE?
Before
in the past,
a little. Maybe? I don't know if it was him. I don't know if it was him or the brother. But they're both sons of Haku, and considering the fact the Rock's there and they're quasi related, like I know they consider them family, but I don't know if they're technically. I don't know how they're related because they're not technically on the tree. I don't think.
Okay.
But they always considered Haku family, so therefore his sons would be.
The fact that he obviously made his debut, they kept his name, they haven't changed anything like that. He's part of the bloodline. It's a new bloodline. And like I said, Paul Heyman was shitting himself in the corner. Then obviously Solo brought him to the middle, obviously told him to throw the one line. And then he was about to call Roman Reigns, and Solo was like, "Fuck that! Give me that phone!" Smashed it.
Yeah.
And then
go on.
Sorry.
Didn't they also the night of Mania? Didn't another person in that family get signed? Jacob
Fatu was supposedly signed.
Right.
I mean,
he was backstage.
Honestly, that family is so deep in this business.
Mm-hmm.
You're never going to run out of Samoans to throw in there. Like the bloodline is for forever. Like, I mean, legitimately, the bloodline is like. It almost is like one of those families that if you don't get in the business, you're looked down upon. Like, what do you mean? It's the family tradition. Like, what do you mean you're not getting in the family business? Because they all do. And also keep in mind that, Umaga's son is still training with Booker. Like, he's back with Booker. So, like, at some point, he's going to come in. Like, probably.
Yeah. The Rock's daughter is general manager of NXT. Like, it's all ingrained, man. It's ingrained. It's exciting times. It's basically looking like the new bloodline. And then also backstage again, obviously they killed Jimmy. He was twitching in the corner. I think he did a hip attack with the chair in between.
With the chair, yeah.
And then so he was in the back. Paul Heyman came out and said, like, "Yo, it's not looking good. He's fucked, bro." Like,
essentially, he had the fear in his eyes.
Essentially, he's fucked. And then again, Tama Tonga came up to Paul, and it was just proper intimidating him. He was like, rubbing his face. It's just like, this is by orders of the tribal chief. And then some Solo came out, and he was just showing him stirring in the spike. And then Paul Heyman said, "What the fuck does that mean? What do you mean that was ordered by the tribal chief?" And this feels like it's gonna be the new bloodline versus the old. And who knows? Maybe it's probably The Rock that made that call. He might be calling himself the tribal chief. That's the final boss.
I'm guessing that was the implication then. He wasn't talking about Roman when he said that.
Yeah.
I don't think he was talking about Roman. Yeah, he definitely wasn't talking about Roman.
If you remember, some months back, there was a moment where Solo did something out in the ring.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking. That was in my head.
And there was speculation. I think I might have said to you, Chaos, possibly off the air, and I'm going, are they laying the groundwork for Rock? Because they're implying the tribal chief made the decision, and Paul had this confused look of going, "Did Roman
who made that call?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering if they're going to call that back, because whether or not they're laying the groundwork for that, because that would fit. Or they could also turn around of going, Solo's appointed himself the tribal chief.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
you know
what
what
I'm
I mean?
thinking.
Yeah.
Like, you know, self-appointed. Like, there's so many
Because
avenues that could go with this, and it'll work.
What happened?
yeah,
That
exactly.
what's the reference you're talking about? Solo at the
I
ring.
can't remember. It was definitely
Yeah.
after a pay-per-view. No, it was when The Rock actually made a surprise appearance. I remember it was
Yeah.
definitely
Right.
after that. I think it was the one where it was with Theory. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then something happened. Solo went and attacked someone. And then there was
interrupt the match, I think. Wasn't it like, didn't he
I think he
interrupt the
interrupted
match?
the match.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then backstage, it was backstage thing, and then but he said it was by orders, by and then Paul Heyman was like, well, who made that call? And then he had this phone with
and
him,
then
and
it
it wasn't
cuts.
the Raid.
The scene cuts when Paul's going, well, who
Yeah.
made the call? And they're walking off, and they
Yeah.
never touched it
And I
again.
thought definitely it was something to do with The Rock, because
Yeah,
Roman had
same.
no focus. So I think that's what it's referring to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they never went back to it. Like
Correct.
since then, they never went back.
Do we think that this attack on Jimmy is the type of attack where, okay, they've beat him up, and then next week he helps them and he's part of them, or is Jimmy out now?
No, I think
No,
Jimmy's
Jimmy's
out for a while. I think you keep Jimmy off. I think Jimmy stays off, and I think Jimmy returns with Roman. Because I think they're bringing Roman back as a face at some point. Like, I have a feeling like that's where this is going. But I think I think you keep him off, and you establish Paul as the reluctant wise man of Solo and this new bloodline that's getting built.
Yeah.
And I think you run with that and have him run roughshod through SmackDown, leading to the eventual return of Roman to
And
confront
somehow put Jay in it as well, because you know that Jimmy wants to get back with Jay, kind of in a way. Like, I know it's gonna
We get that
reunite.
Usos reunion.
Yeah, with Roman. And then when you think about it, that was the original bloodline. Remember when obviously back when it was
Dog
that
food
feud with
days.
Baron
when they were still wearing the face paint back in the day, and he was still wearing the Shield garb.
Yeah. So that's the original bloodline versus the new one. Maybe like you said, another Civil War thing, like what everyone's been saying. And then I don't know about War Games. I can't imagine The Rock being in the War Games. I know it's Dusty's match and all that stuff, but I feel like the next time we see Rock, I think he wants to have an actual one-on-one, because obviously that's what he wanted to do, and he had to set with a tag match. So I feel like I think he wants to, especially when he's bragging how he felt good in that match and the whole WrestleMania weekend. I think the next time we see him will be a one-on-one, whether it's with Cody or with Roman. I say.
The only weird part with that would be if they're doing the bloodline old versus new. The Rock would have to not be there at all, but it would kind of would cheapen it, because you figure he would be involved in something like that as the quasi. I mean, he kind of is the head of the table, whatever you want to call it. I mean, he is the biggest name in the family. Like, he legitimately is. So you kind of feel like, does he get involved in some way? Like, I feel like if he gets involved, he's going to play the heel, I would think.
Yeah.
You know, and that could lead into the Roman Rock match if that's the direction they go. It depends how quickly they want to do the Cody match. Do you want to do it at SummerSlam? Because that's going to be in a stadium too. Do you do it at SummerSlam and then do Rock at Mania? Or are you doing the next two Manias? One Cody, one Roman. Like, I think it depends on what The Rock wants to work.
Yeah, exactly. All I know is it's a fun time to be a wrestling fan again, and I just want to see where they go. And I'm just like I said, I don't even really want to dive into or fantasy as hardcore as I used to do. I just want to see, just see where it goes. Cause I know the way, for the most part, I think I'm going to enjoy it. So let's see what we're going to go on there, and obviously let me know your thoughts in the comments as well of how you enjoy this. Okay, swiftly moving on. We're back to CM Punk situation. As of this recording, last Wednesday, Tony Khan was just like, obviously saw CM Punk be on the Ariel Helwani show, and he obviously detailed. He didn't really want to, but he got the question. He got asked the question about what happened at All In. Gave his side of the story. obviously TK and AEW saw that, and it was just like, okay, really, okay, hold my cocaine. And then basically following a week after, he was just like, okay, you know what? The Young Bucks are going to air what really happened at All In London. I'll be backstage. We all know it was the brawling, or another brawl, Golden Punk and Jack Perry. When Jack Perry obviously had a hissy fit because he didn't want to use, he couldn't use real glass at a collision taping, and then they used it at All In, and then
that's the thing you put your foot down for. I want to go through real glass. Congrats.
It's like there's not really been a good record with real glass. Like, just ask Goldberg. But anyway, so yeah, they everyone was saying no, they're gonna do a bait and switch. No way is he actually gonna do, like, no one's asking for this. So how is this going to feed into the possible this Bucks FDR feud? But yeah, not everyone tuned in. The footage was aired, no audio. And yeah, there's been some feedback about it, but not positive. Obviously, I gave my 2-2s in on a rant on Wrestling Republic, and also my own page on Instagram. And yeah, I'm pretty much along with, I'd say, over 95% of people how do you feel about this. Obviously, Anthony, you gave your thoughts on it, which, well, I'll still get your thoughts on this on the situation, but I want to speak to Rides regarding this. I don't think we've actually spoken about if you've seen the footage, and if you have, what's your thoughts, and like, do you agree what TK did? What's your thoughts on this whole situation? Because yeah, I'm baffled.
I think it was stupid. It was just like, I don't.
Just tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, I don't even need to have a long-winded thing about it. It's dumb. Like, it's just, man, this. I understand the retaliation to the stuff CM Punk said. CM Punk wasn't exactly kind to AEW in his interview, but I don't think he was saying anything malicious. He was just telling the truth. We know what Tony's like. People love to say, oh, there's no competition, it's just wrestling for everybody. But to Tony, it's competition. He wants to fight WWE at everything. You saw the tweets that he was sending. Was it the night Jinder came back with The Rock?
Yes.
And he was just going crazy, like,
he was trying to hinder the gender.
Yeah, literally. This is a person who just thrives off of that. I think that kind of passion is good if it's controlled. It's not controlled with him. And essentially, Punk just called him out on that in terms of his leadership skills. If you want to look at it from a professional standpoint, the incident between him and Jungle Boy, you can argue who was right, who was wrong, fine. But that's behind the scenes. That doesn't need to be in the public, because this isn't storyline. This isn't characters. Unless the whole thing was fake, which I don't think it was, that doesn't need to be for us. It kind of blurs the line between entertainment and reality. And now you're taking a very real, serious situation that resulted in people either losing their jobs or having to be suspended or whatever. Now you're putting it on TV for what, ratings, or just to pop the WWE? On the flip side, devil's advocate, funnily enough, I was watching Eric Bischoff earlier today talk about it, and they actually prompted me to do something I don't really do, where I don't really tweet celebrities or whatever, but I tweeted him, and I can't remember the full tweet, but essentially I said to him, despite the fact that everyone is saying that it sucks and it was pointless, myself included, on the flip side, everybody still watched. All of us are complaining about it, saying it was stupid, saw the advert for it, and still made the intention to sit down and watch it. And, you know, Eric Bischoff himself has said controversy creates cash. So in terms of ratings, in terms of getting eyes on the product, was it a good move in that regards? I put it to you guys. Like,
I feel like it was one of those things that you popped one show's rating. Like, realistically, everyone knows Punk's not going to roll into a Dynamite and continue a story. Like, it's not. This is 8 months after, and this is all because of pettiness, because Punk gave an interview and told his side of the story, which he hadn't told previously publicly, and he called Tony Khan a clown. And Tony got really hot and bothered by that. And then AEW had their NWA Coke Spot moment by doing something that any reasonable person backstage would have went, this is a bad idea. And instead, and the reason people watched is people love watching chaos. So
Yep.
why, like, it was like the village idiot playing with fireworks. You know he's probably going to blow a thumb off, but you're like, let me watch. And that's what happened. Like, I understand showing the footage if what Punk said happened could be refuted with the footage. If the footage shows something completely different than what Punk said, and you want to do this as a petty thing to go, he's lying, and I'm going to hurt them, the footage showed exactly what Punk said happened.
Yep.
So it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt Punk. The fact that after this happens, the crowd is still chanting CM Punk, which, by the way, I do laugh. I think Dave Meltzer tweeted something like, "Oh no, they were saying FCM Punk." Every recording I've watched was a couple boos, but mostly a loud voice or a CM Punk chant. I didn't hear FCM Punk. Could it have happened? Possibly, but I haven't seen the footage of it. And the fact that Punk was trending, somebody who doesn't work for your company anymore because you guys couldn't put your egos aside and make business with it. And WCW 2000 was trending. Now,
wow.
anybody that knows the history of the business knows that 2000, 2001 is the worst years of WCW. And then somebody looked at the footage, and again, I love the wrestling fans because they will find footage like Zapruder film and compare the two. So they literally showed an image of Tony Schiavone from Bash at the Beach 2000 when Russo did the whole swerve with Hogan, and Tony Schiavone is like this after it happens, and is like this again when the footage airs with the Bucks. I know there's dispute on who was responsible for who was pushing the air the footage. It doesn't matter who was pushing the air the footage. At the end of the day, it's the person who owns the company that is ultimately responsible. So Tony Khan is ultimately responsible for that. The same way if WWE aired footage on TV, it ultimately falls on Paul Levesque, Nick Khan. It ultimately falls on the brass of the company. So whoever was responsible for thinking this was a good idea, I don't like. You thought you were going to hurt Punk. You made Punk stronger because he's not the one who got assaulted. Now, I'm not making an excuse for Punk. You're in a professional place of business. You shouldn't be laying your hands on a coworker. But I do think it speaks volumes, whether it's the brawl out press conference, whether it's this backstage incident. Punk spent nearly a decade with WWE. And as far as we know, he never had a single backstage incident. Since he's come back, he's been a model citizen, according to everybody that's involved. How is it that, like, he spent less than 2 years, because, again, he was injured during those 2 years with AEW. So less than 2 years, and this guy literally had a complete meltdowns. Like, what's going on backstage? Yeah. Like, seriously, it's got to be somebody in AEW. It's got to be AEW.
Yeah, no smoke without fire, man.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's not justifiable, the two things that he did going off at a press conference, stuff like that. But at the same point, if you're constantly having people pressure you behind the scenes, like, and undermine you, like you are trying to push this company up to another level, a level you've been at and no one else in that company has been at. And you're getting undermined it every which way by whether it's the elite or people that are friends with the elite, all that rumor, the allegedly it's the Bucks and the elite and all that stuff. Of course you're going to snap because you're making every effort to make something work, and they keep cutting the cords of everything you're trying to do. And you have an owner who, according to Punk and according to a lot of fans have said the same thing. Tony's a nice guy, but he doesn't know what he's doing. And, when Punk told the story, going, are you going to do something about this? And Tony's like, well, what do you want me to do? You're the owner. Yeah. You run the company. Like, if you said that to Vince, Punk wouldn't wouldn't even have had to say that to Vince McMahon.
No.
Or Paul Levesque.
It wouldn't
Stuff
happen
would have
under
been
Vince McMahon or
done.
Paul Levesque.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, no, exactly. But like, at no point would a talent have to say to Vince or anybody in WWE, going, "Are you going to do something about this?" Those words would never have to be said. Something would be done like that. Like, this is not one of those things. So I
That just
don't.
shows.
It just, Tony's a nice guy, but in a lot of ways, he appears to be, to many fans, the rich kid that bought himself a promotion and is
Yes.
doing fantasy booking with actual people. And
Yes.
I really think he needs somebody like and this could hugely benefit AEW if Tony gave this person the reins and stepped back, but I don't think Tony would do it. You have Scott
Too much
D'Amore
ego.
out.
Too much
You
ego.
have Scott D'Amore out there. You saw what he did for TNA. Now you give him the budget and you give him free reign. He could help your product. But I don't think you want to do that because you think you know what you're doing. And granted, he doesn't rely on AEW to turn a profit. The AEW number has to turn a profit. It's a fun project for him. Like, he gets money elsewhere. So, like, when people go, well, how long will AEW survive? AEW will survive as long as the cons are willing to put money in it.
Yeah,
it will survive in some form or fashion for that. But the detriment to the brand and the appeal for wrestlers to go there, if they got the option to go to WWE, which is a 5-star Michelin restaurant that knows what they're doing right now that they've gotten rid of the crazy old man in the kitchen, it's going to hurt them. Because if you're looking at it, most talent will go, okay, like a Jade. Jade's a perfect example. Tony offered her a lot more money. And she took WWE because she knew she had one chance to make a mark in this business and to be in the biggest company. And as much as people go, oh, the dream is not WrestleMania anymore for these wrestlers, they're lying to themselves. The ones that say that they don't want to wrestle on a WrestleMania are the ones that they know will never get to a WrestleMania. I mean, the Bucks aren't going to go to WWE because at the end of the day, they have a money mark in Tony Khan. He's given them insane money. They have full control. Why would they want to go to WWE and possibly be exposed? And I think that, there are talent that's like that are afraid to jump. And I'm not saying I want AEW to succeed, but AEW's greatest strength and its biggest weakness is Tony Khan. At the end of the day.
Yeah. And it's go on, use.
Yeah, go on. No, it's like you said, it's just Tony Khan's a really big fan of wrestling, but he's more of a fan than a manager. You know, he kind of reminds me. He kind of reminds me of the when WWE go down to like Saudi or whatever, and the princes. I want to see Undertaker and Goldberg. I think that would be good. Is Yokozuna still available? Like, that's him. That's literally.
I compare the Saudi shows to like renting a clown for a birthday party. Like they're literally renting a WrestleMania for themselves. It's essentially
it's better now over the couple shows.
Oh,
better.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
It's essentially Tony Khan without the commitment for weekly TV. I get a one-off show. Like, there's no commitment for me to do weekly TV. It's like, I want a one-off show. Okay.
Yeah. It's not a priority for him because, like you said, he's got other avenues. He's a businessman. He owns a football team. It is a side project. AEW could do terrible ratings-wise for the next 6 months, and he'll be heated about it and tweet about it. But he doesn't care enough to, let me stop here or let me work on it. I'm gonna do it this way because it entertains me. Or I feel that it will entertain everybody else, even if it doesn't. I mean,
everyone else is wrong but me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that God complex. And that whole footage with Perry and Punk, I just think like there's two things that I feel about it. I'm trying to remember both of them. One of them is the fact that, firstly, if you're doing it seriously, like in real life, and you're trying to prove something or show something, and you're showing footage of an altercation, without the audio, it's not real evidence because what was being said for those first 60 seconds prior to the thing. Was there a threat? Was there a reason for the physicality? You know, so already that's silly. But then if you're looking at it as okay, TV entertainment, it goes back to what I said earlier about blurring the lines, and like we're not supposed to see that. We're not supposed to see CM Punk and Jack Perry have an altercation, because if we are suspending belief and we're just going by TV, CM Punk is in a feud with Samoa Joe. Jack Perry was, I think it was with Darby. There's no reason for them to cross paths in that moment. It's very random if you're just suspending your belief and following the storyline. Furthermore, why is Samoa Joe, the guy he's about to wrestle, involved in that and holding him back to be the bigger? It doesn't make sense. It does make sense in reality because we're not stupid. But if we're supposed to believe, why are you then going to show that on your TV show that's still supposed to be entertainment? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And going back to what you said, Chaos, what the hell does that do for the Bucks? I haven't even been watching, but I'm hearing they're in this feud with FTR. What does that do for them?
They're trying to spin this now, and now it's 8 months later. They're trying to spin this of going, oh well, the backstage incident distracted us, which cost us the match against FTR at All In. Like what? Like that's how you're trying to spin this of going, well, we were distracted, and now we're bringing up 8 months later.
We couldn't even pray. That's what he said. We couldn't even pray. We couldn't get prep.
I mean,
it
was so bad. And then when you look at the footage,
the Young Bucks are not there, by the way, in that footage. Am I right?
No, they are not. They are not physically in the footage. But like when you look at it, there's not a single person in that footage that looks even disturbed or concerned about the conversation with Punk and Jack Perry. Like literally, no one moves until Punk moves on Perry. And even that, it wasn't like it was like multiple people pulling them off. It was like Jerry Lynn and Chris Hero, whose first day on the job was to pull Punk off of Jack Perry, and like Joe just
so stressed.
And Joe's like holding Jack Perry with like one arm because he's a lightweight. It's like, yeah, all right, dude, like just enough. And like as far as like monitors falling on Tony, like they were flat screens. They weren't that big. Like unless his head was on the table, I don't see how he got hurt by any of this. You know,
even at 14-inch screens. I mean, like, come on, man, get over yourself.
Like, I'm like, listen, you know, who am I to say whether or not he feared for his life? I mean, I don't know what was going through his head, but I always thought when he said that, I felt like the lawyers told him to say that. That was the justification for the termination for cause. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, but like, it was one of those ones where I'm like, dude, if you thought this helped you, I don't understand how you watched that footage and went, this will totally change the narrative. Everyone will be pro me. Everyone will be a pro AEW. No, it was.
That's what I don't get.
It was a one-off. It was the ratings,
and we moved on.
the ratings will be just the way they were before this footage aired. If you think you're getting 800,000 people next week after airing that, also on top of that, you're trying to promote a pay-per-view. None of the things that they did on Wednesday's show motivated me to go, I need to see this show. I'm going to buy this show. I need to see Bucks FTR 4. No. No
correlation.
Like, you know, it came off as desperate and petty. And that's what it was. It was 100%. Also, the other side thing that makes no sense is Jack Perry's in banishment in New Japan as the scapegoat or whatever. He ripped up his AEW contract. Shouldn't he then be mad at both Tony Khan and the Bucks and anybody in management of AEW because they banished him to New Japan, right? Why are the Bucks kissing his ass of going, poor Jack? Well, you're EVPs. You can't get him back? Oh, wait, that's right. You don't actually control the company. Tony Khan does, but he doesn't want to be involved. Make a decision, people. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you harping on this? Like, it's not going to work. You're not making money off of it. Punk's laughing at you. The entire wrestling world is laughing at you that you can't let this go. It's like a relationship that they broke up and they can't get over that your partner has moved on. Like, you got dumped. You moved on.
In the words of JME,
You're a donut. You're so stupid. You're so stupid. You're stupid. Dumb.
I think it's key the fact that Chaos you had mentioned that Soul couldn't defend this, and literally in our private chat he's open. Yeah, it wasn't a good idea to air the footage. I'm like, Stevie Wonder saw that wasn't a good idea to air the footage, like before it aired, and it didn't help you. Like what?
It's just stupid. None of this would have happened if they never split up Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. Should have kept it the same.
Mandela effect.
I mean, listen. Look at like the one domino that fell, like, and it's just the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, if anything, people should be praising Jack Perry, because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have gotten CM Punk back in WWE.
Yeah.
He really is the MVP of all of this.
Yeah. Definitely.
So it's wild. The fact that they're trying to make this a thing, I think the footage we all want to see is what happened in the locker room.
Oh yeah, I'll tune in for that.
At All Out. I think that's what we all want to see is that footage, and I think we don't have Chaos, which is an interesting position that we're in with the table without the head of it.
That's it. We are hosts now, man. But no, I still agree, man. And also, you got to ask yourself again, even if it was the other footage that we just mentioned with the Bucks and all that, again, what point is there if the main man involved isn't even in the company anymore?
Yeah, all
you can't build off it.
You can't, and that was the problem, and I always knew it was going to be a problem. And Chaos, I believe I did a table with you when Collision was going to be a thing, and I said, unless they resolve their actual issues backstage, this is going to crash and burn, and that's exactly what happened. Tony thought, I'll just do 2 shows and then keep them apart. Yeah, well, what are you going to do with pay-per-views? Like, they're going to cross paths. Like, it's going to be a problem, but you don't care. And the sad part is there's nothing that Punk has said that has turned out to be false. And I think that drives them nuts. Punk's greatest promo was that press conference. Like, that is the greatest promo I think I've ever seen in my life. The whole diatribe of what did I do in this world to deserve? And it's the greatest promo. And I'm working with children. I'm old, sick, and tired. And I'm working with children. It's the greatest promo. But it's like everyone else has moved on. And, I did laugh that somebody said, I don't know if this was like a rumor thing. They went, Tony Khan is still mad that Jungle Boy cost him Punk. I'm going, if that is true, you should look in a mirror. Your lack of leadership is and the egos of people that think they're big stars in this business, but they're nothing more than indie darlings, is what cost you CM Punk in this business.
Yep.
The fact that you went, no, I'm going to take these guys who were able to sell out a bingo hall over the guy that's sold out Madison Square Garden. Like, I'm not saying Punk's a victim in I'm not saying Punk is innocent in all this, but seriously, it shouldn't have gotten to the point of that press conference. It should have never gotten there.
No,
the moment that Hangman went rogue in that promo, that's when you should have pulled both of them aside and went, yeah, I'm not having this. You two need to get this crap out because I'm not doing this. But you let him do it, and it escalated.
Right there, front and center. Pussy. It's a pussy.
It kept escalating. And what happened? It blew up in epic proportions. But in hindsight, that got us Punk's Survivor Series return and, the WrestleMania moment that we wouldn't have gotten.
Just imagine.
You know what I mean? Crazy. Like Punk, Punk saying it's home. Cody said it was home. And I don't think that is propaganda. I really think both guys realize that. And Brandy kind of hinted at it. I saw some tweet from her where, it's vague of going, you thought it was going to go that direction, and it's sad to see it go the direction because Brandy has no filter. Like Cody's been very diplomatic with the whole thing, but like like if Brandy goes off about the story, we're going to get the real story with Brandy. Like Brandy's ready to go off on it all.
Yeah.
Like if AEW went down and somehow TKO bought the company, the rise and fall documentary, Brandy's going to be the front one going, all right, I'm in. Like, Brandy's ready to go on this story.
100%.
But, it's sad to see a company that had so much promise not move on. Like, you can't get over it. Like, move on already.
Well,
I don't get it.
Yeah, let's hope now because they're told that he thinks he's got the final word. But in all honesty, I think Punk obviously he's the one pretty one out of this, as it's quite evident. But let's see what happens. Let's see what happens next week on Dynamite. Also going on with Dynasty because they have a lot of making up to do, both to their roster as well as us as fans because they left a very sour taste in people's mouths, even the diehards of AEW. But let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments as well. What's your thoughts on the situation? I'm pretty sure you guys are on the same wavelength as us as say that was not a good move, but we'll see what happens. All right, let's wrap it up with finally the quick game of 20 questions if you guys are still up for that. So I found a pay-per-view, and like I said, obviously Rise is well adversed with this game. 20 questions. I give you a yes or no answer. One shot kills. If he gets it right, then obviously that's the end of the game. If he gets it wrong, then of course the streak lives on. And the team in the last episode they won it. So I know they were meant to get first dibs on the next one, but this is like a special episode. This is not canon, if that makes sense. And then we'll just carry on here. So 20 questions. You guys go ahead. Start now.
What do we do?
Am I asking you the questions? Or
Yeah,
what?
You gotta ask me a question, bro. You asked me 20.
Oh, you didn't. I'm sitting there waiting for questions, so I'm asking you questions.
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea what's going on.
All right, cool. So I'm asking you questions, about something that I choose, a pay-per-view. Is that what I heard, right?
Not me. I pay in mind. And
you
then,
have a pay-per-view.
You just gotta give me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm with you.
God
okay.
damn.
Okay.
All right.
It's been a while. It's been a while, man. It's been a while.
I've never done it, so here we go.
So we're We're working together to ask you questions to figure out
to guess this pay-per-view.
What pay-per-view you have in mind?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes or no questions. All right.
Yes.
You want to go first, Anthony?
Yeah. Is it a WWE pay-per-view?
Yeah.
That was real convincing. It was either a yes or no.
Yes, it is.
Also, silly question, not a game question, but is it 21 questions between us, or are we both asking you we're competing against each other?
20 questions altogether. Like you don't get 10.
So it's 10 and 10. Yeah.
So we're working together.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. You said yes. It was a WWE pay-per-view. Okay. Is the pay-per-view 2002 onwards, as in a WWE, like actual pay-per-view?
No.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. Did it take place in the 90s?
Did it take place in the 90s? No.
Okay.
No Googling, by the way.
Was Stone Cold Steve Austin performing at this pay-per-view?
Was Stone Cold Steve Austin performing at this pay-per-view? No.
Okay. So just to confirm, you said it's not. What was it? 2002 to 2006? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, essentially it's a WWF.
All right. So it's not the 90s. It's not the 2000s. Is it earlier than the 90s?
No.
Okay.
He didn't rule out the 2000s, I don't think.
Okay.
He ruled out the 90s.
Okay.
That's 5 questions, by the way.
Yeah. Austin wasn't performing at it, but it potentially... When did WWF turn to E? It was 2002.
That was 2002, yeah.
Okay. So if it's early 2000, okay. Okay, I got one.
Okay.
Was the Alliance present at this pay-per-view?
Was the Alliance at this pay-per-view? No.
Okay.
Did this pay-per-view in any way involve ECW?
No.
Okay.
Okay. How many questions we at now?
That's 7.
Okay. Was the Undertaker in his American Badass / Big Evil gimmick at the pay-per-view, or active while this pay-per-view was on?
Which question is it? Which one? Was he active?
Was he active, regardless of whether he was at the pay-per-view?
Okay.
Was he an active member of the roster as that character while this pay-per-view was on?
Yes.
Was your answer? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Bingo. So we're looking at...
That's very specific.
Yeah, I mean, you helped. You just narrowed it down, man.
So we're looking in the 2000s because we know the 80s and 90s are out.
Yeah, so we're looking at between the year 2000 and early 2002, latest.
Was this pay-per-view any of the big 5 that are considered? Is it considered any part of the big 5? So Mania, Rumble, Survivor Series, SummerSlam, Money in the Bank.
Well, Money in the Bank wasn't that time, but no.
No, okay. So we're going King of the Ring era. Okay, got it.
Did you say no to that question?
No, yeah. It's not a big 5. That's 9 questions.
Is the name of this pay-per-view a double barrel, like 2 words, like Survivor Series, or is it 1 word?
Ooh, good question.
So the question is:
the question is it 2 words?
Is it 2 words?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
that's 10.
We're getting there.
Did this pay-per-view take place during the fall?
No.
Okay.
Was Shane McMahon in any way involved in the main event?
No.
All right. Did this pay-per-view take place during the summer?
Oh, sorry. Correction. Yes, he was.
Okay.
Apologies.
Did this pay-per-view take place during the summer?
Yeah. That's 13.
Okay. Do we have to get the exact year, by the way, or just the event itself?
No, just...
Okay. All right. So it took place during the summer, you said?
Yes.
Is the word loaded in the pay-per-view title?
Yes.
Take it. Anthony, take it.
I believe it would be fully loaded.
Yes, it's fully loaded. How the
yeah, man.
Did you man?
Oh, man.
I think me narrowing it down to the summer helped down. It's like either King of the Ring, fully loaded, and you already said it wasn't one of the big ones, so eliminate SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
yeah,
for,
so this
for me,
was,
the Undertaker question, that helped narrow it down completely just to 2 years. And then asking about Shane McMahon, because I remember the main event. I was thinking fully loaded, and I was like, Shane McMahon was involved. Let me just ask.
yeah.
I'll be honest.
The main event was The Rock, The Rock versus Redacted with Shane McMahon in his corner, and this obviously the stipulation was it was for the title. Obviously, if Rock gets disqualified, he loses it. And he did lose it, but he got it back thanks to Commissioner Mick Foley. The event was July 3rd, 2000, in Dallas, Texas.
Honestly, when I asked if it was a WWE pay-per-view, and you're like, yeah, I thought you were going ECW One Night Stand. Like that, I thought the hesitation. That's why I asked the ECW question. I was like, I
wasn't sure. Should I be an asshole because it was like, but it was WWF, so I was just like, it's not WWE, but.
That's why I asked the double barrel name, and Austin, you're right, he didn't perform at that.
Yeah, Austin
he was
on
still
the
out,
poster, but he still was out. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, and this was the the third and final fully loaded pay-per-view before it turned into Vengeance the following year. And it is 1 year after Invasion, obviously. So just missed it. So congrats, guys! Not bad. That was some good, unique questions. Never heard of ones before. That's pretty cool. Bad dudes. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of this WrestleMania recap. With a little sprinkle of CM Punk. It's been very fun speaking to you guys. Thank you very much. Thank you, Anthony, very much, Rides, for your one appearance on the table. But it's always a pleasure of having you here. Until next time, guys, I have been your host, Chaos. He has been Anthony. Down below has been the legendary Rides. Until next time, guys. Peace.
Yeah.